What is up, real estate rock stars? This is Christina Leavenworth out of Pensacola, Florida, your Real Estate Rock Stars host today. And today we are talking to Sam Abdallah, and he does 36 deals a year consistently just by being a rock star at his database. He is calling people that already know, like, and trust him, and he's asking them some basic questions, and then they're saying, hey, I want to buy or sell a house with you. It sounds really, really simple, and that's because it is. And he's very, very good about mindset and just getting ready to dominate. So I can't wait for you to hear this podcast. Without further ado, I am joined with Sam Abdallah out of Ontario, Canada. And this guy is a rock star. He's been in the real estate business for about 10 years. And what we're going to be hearing from him today is how to get off the hamster wheel. That's what we all want. But first of all, how are you doing, Sam?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's just start with the basics. How'd you get into real estate? Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I got into real estate when we had our first son. I worked in corporate and telesales, and I was always kind of, I wouldn't say indoctrinated back in the day of like staying in the same spot, but I knew there was more. I actually ended up taking a flipping course, which cost us a lot of money. And I called my wife saying I spent, 30 grand on a course, and I trust it's going to work out. And that opened me up to entrepreneurship. I started listening to a lot more books, and in real estate, got interested in flipping and all that stuff. So even though that journey didn't work out, it took me to real estate because all I would do is listen to real estate books, want to grow, want to learn, want to evolve myself. While I was having my first son, we both, left our jobs, which was a big, bold move. My wife was pregnant, and we had no choice. We had to kind of leverage that no choice, kind of burn the boats in this case mentality, even though you have to look at what's best for you. But we did that, and we got into the business. Ended up joining a few teams. So I was on my own for a bit. Had to do a lot of mind shift around because in work and corporate we kind of get indoctrinated with it's kind of addicted to a paycheck. We have to look at seeding opportunities now to like create business for the future. So I was kind of working on my mindset to get ready for what real estate was going to bring me. And so it got me more into being patient as a business owner, having more ability to see opportunities and to grow and then building up my database through, which I'll talk about today. But so got into that, worked on a couple teams, worked as an expansion partner, inside sales agent, director as well. Learned a lot about how a team operates, the operations behind the team, how to run a successful business without spending on ads because I didn't really have the budget back then. So it really allowed me to really understand what goes into a successful real estate business and being really purposeful and intentional when you really don't have any other choice. So my business is based on about 36 transactions a year, 350,000 in GCI in our market, but really. It was created from a necessity to create business out of opportunity that, how sometimes they'll say if there's limitation, it forces creativity. And so that kind of forced me to have more look at things and not force opportunity, but see opportunity in everywhere when it comes to client follow-up, sphere of influence, and going on these different teams, they were great experiences for me, even though, like the model was quite expensive back then, even though it was like not expensive, but it was paying a split. It allowed me to learn what I needed to do to be successful on my own and how I can make the blueprint of a real estate business, but also systemize it along the way, not just kind of guessing on what's going to work, but actually documenting those things that do work and putting them on repeat and learning from bad hires and all those things to now have, an admin, a showing assistant, and be able to do within 3-4 hours a day, 25 to 36 transactions a year consistently. So
when you first started, how did you get your first few deals?
First few deals, honestly, was some cold calling actually at Sphere. So I was reaching out, circle prospecting, and ended up putting these people in my database and reaching out to them. I remember getting a listing, the first listing I ever got. Actually, I believe it was one of the first ones. I didn't find out if they didn't have enough money to actually pay out. So it was a very good learning lesson when you don't know how much equity they have. That was kind of the starting journey. And then after that, there was one where it was in a sphere of influence. Just, did the right thing, followed up. I had a buyer that I knew from previously, reached out to them. They were actually looking to buy. I door knocked the area. I had determination to get it done. I door knocked. I found out that they really did want to sell. They were going to go private. We ended up getting the listing. We had 2 sales out of that, which was great. But just learning where those deals come from, what worked, what didn't work, and really starting to get a path of creating a cadence and a flow for how I'm going to follow up with people in real estate, and create a name for myself at the same time while following up with leads and servicing people too. So, yeah.
And while like a lot of us have door knocked, we've cold called, we've thrown everything at the wall and just waited to see what sticks, it's not always the most fun. Door knocking or cold calling. And isn't that why you kind of shifted more into just kind of database follow-up? Tell me kind of how those experiences helped you craft your superpower.
Yeah, so I think really creating it from just identifying, what are the biggest things that agents or even myself at Endpoint had any challenges with. And a lot of people would say reluctance in reaching out to the people that they know. And then why is that happening? Is that through programming of, what salespeople are, or, what we believe in our mind or what we've grown up with? And I believe how I've crafted that is through, I did have experience previously being on the phone quite a bit in my old work in telesales, but I would say the need to create relationships and really finding out on a holistic level how I can help people. And also how I can help myself enjoy the business rather than feel like the old kind of scripts of, do you want to buy, sell, invest? Really actually coming from a holistic point of view. For instance, even connecting someone if they're looking for work, or figuring out in my database how someone else would fit with another business owner. So really getting to know my people on a really intimate level in the sense of knowing who they really are, and knowing that, when you go from team to team or you go as a single agent, I've seen a lot of stories where if you don't take care of and harness that database, that's your only asset that you have. So you really have to make the most of it and really feed it as a great marketing machine. And it makes you better as a business owner, as your acumen, but also I think it's going to help you in the long run with making sure that regardless of the market, regardless of shifts, you're able to come out on top, get more of your fair share. And I will say too, like if there's 5,500 transactions in your market, there's no reason why you're not able to get 35. You may not want to have to, and back in the day, I was kind of thought I had to be this big team leader and I had to have all these team leaders. I didn't want to have the team hassle, and to be honest with you, I didn't want to have to deal with someone calling me when I have, took my son to bed and they have to deal with an offer. I wanted to live my authentic self. I wanted to enjoy my business, whether that was 400 GCI or more. Obviously, I still have big goals, but that allowed me to kind of, being a systems person, how can I really systemize this and make this easier? Because I noticed agents really didn't want to contact their database. They had horrible organization skills, but they love people. They love to service people. They love to love on their people. They just don't have the strategies and systems in place. And I figured if I could do this along the way, I can benefit, but I can also help people benefit because I've documented the journey. And that's where I think that's where it's become my superpower.
So what strategies and systems would you recommend so somebody on repeat can get 36 deals every single year?
Yeah. So one of the first things I showed someone was, I said, do you have any processes for old appointments that you've been on? I said, no. I said, we got to have the right things in place so we keep track of all those things, right? And so when I talk to an agent, I find out where their follow-up or lead nurture is. Generally, we help them establish rules, because right now I call mind share. If you have to think about all the things you have to do, it's going to take away from your ability to actually do things right and service clients and convert leads and do the right activities and removing friction. So what I do is I've created those sales rules from the experience I've had and creating a sales pipeline. If you had a coaching business, same thing. You'd have a pipeline. You'd have opportunities. creating that decision-making tool, allowing them and tying it to their calendar will make sure that we don't ever have to worry about who we're going to reach out and why. And we're not going to call the same people and over again. And we determine examples like qualifying stage or whatever that we know we fed to our broker that needs to work on. We can launch a marketing plan or reach out to a specific group and have a theme lead generation or lead follow-up day. So I feel like that's where I really love. I love systems. And even though people know it, just like exercise, and everybody knows how to exercise and eat right, but not everybody's super, super fit, right? So I believe that there's a reason for either a built-in accountability tool, removing friction, making it easier to do the right activities, and then giving clarity. And I truly believe that if I take the complex, I should be able to spell out the simple and make it easy for someone to just go ahead and execute, and make sure that if they're going to buy a lead program, which a lot of them come to me and say, I bought these programs that don't work, but they didn't actually optimize the people they already have. And they don't also take those people that are realtor.ca leads and have a great system to make them raving fans, even if they've never met them before. Because, I don't know if you read like Millionaire Real Estate Agent, but they say, well, you got to meet them. And I said, we don't necessarily have to meet them, because if you create a great system that they know who you are when you contact them, they could be forever clients. And I've had lots of referrals with other agents, other realtor.ca leads that I've created as forever clients that make my database bigger, that make my business more robust and better in a shift, and me be able to go into that as a pool. And it should be, in my opinion, the top one or two sources of business, right? Database, sphere referral, that's top two. Referral agent, that could be a third, for instance, and that could be all born out through the database.
Got it. So let's just kind of role play. So if you are calling people you had an appointment with, let's say like 2 years ago, they barely remember your name. What does that phone call sound like?
That's great. Okay. So first I would say this. My goal is to get curiosity and lower sales resistance. So I'm not going to give you a magic script and say, but I am going to give you a methodology. And that's what I do when I work with my students is, how can we create a flow of a language pattern or a way of structuring an outreach that's going to feel authentic, that's going to allow someone to potentially pull you in, open up, and you to be able to solve their problems. So I would really just, tonality is big, as you know, probably 55% or 60% of your communication is you're a great communicator on podcast. So I would say that I would reach out and have a common thread, right? See them on social, or reach out and hey, it's Sam. It's been a while. Let's get a name. So Sarah, it's Sam. Listen, it's been a long time. I know on Facebook you've been doing some great things. Sorry I haven't been in touch. Like, how is the family? How is everything? Right? I want to thank you for taking the call. I just wanted to see how things are. A lot of people are going through some things right now. There's renewals. As you know, I've been in the business for a bit, real estate. I just want to see, where's your hat at with the market? How are you guys doing? Do you have any renewals coming up? Do you have anything they have questions on? So I feel like that whole generosity generation, that coming from contribution, is going to really lend itself well to the kind of reach outs. And they feel that you just genuinely want to help. And that curiosity will lead into some great conversations where you find out they have multiple properties. You find out XYZ, right? You find all these things out, but it's not from the typical outreach of, well, I'm going to sell them on this call kind of thing. So, well, in Canada, we have renewals for mortgages every couple years. And I know in the US it's a little bit different, but again, if you want, like, for instance, and I created an outreach bank. Every outreach I test, what works, what get callbacks. I document it. I'm very, very, I guess, geeky with that. So if I could document that and give them to my students or people who are working with me, and we build their database, we build their pipeline, and we give them some outreaches that they could use and test, it could be something, simple as, hey, I noticed some things that could affect value, and I just wanted to have a conversation. Like, how are you guys doing? Where's your head at with the market? These things I feel they're vague enough, but they're not spammy, because you're not coming in and, hey, this is a problem that I think is important. Here's 10 links, So A, that's going to get you, banned on the texts, right? But B, I think it's just going to help. This is going to be so much more authentic and easier to do and easier to follow through with, and removing that friction in addition to the other stuff, which is creating the client care, mapping the client care process from contract to close, right? All that other stuff that we take for granted, but we have in our head. If we can have that on a system, we have better client care. We have our sellers getting weekly reports. We have a quarterly program, which we're able to follow. So that really just eliminates using systems to eliminate as leverage will allow someone, I think, to do more deals in that time.
So I think for a lot of agents, when we go into our database, there's probably like well over 50%, maybe probably even 75%. You have no idea who this person is. They came in through, some online lead generation or who knows what. What are those conversations? Because yes, emails are sent out. How many actually get to them or are opened? Who knows? We all have great CRMs for that. Lots of texts have been sent out, but they have no clue who we are. So how do you really work that database?
But whenever I run, that was one of the podcasts I would listen to on my rotation. And so that's how I really got started with Real Estate Rockstars and was interested in the mastermind. Dang, I've got so much value out of the podcast that I obviously wanted to be there. And I've gone every year since.
Hey, you're going to come out here and we're going to teach you about some lead gen. And we do plenty of that stuff. But what really happens is people leave with their lives changed. Listeners, if you are thinking about coming out, find me on Instagram. I've got links and stuff on there. You can DM me for info. It's at Aaron Amuchastegui. Or you can go to our website, realestaterockstarsmastermind.com. We've got two options for ticket. This week is $900 for a single ticket. Or you can do a payment plan where you do like 4 payments of $250. So you can lock in a ticket. So guys, if you're out there, you think, man, I wish I would have gone to that. That's something that I need next year. I know it's hard to buy something like 10 months ahead of time. Be like, why would I do that? Why can I think so far ahead? But hopefully you can be a little inspired. Do it this way.
Yeah, I mean, I've done in the past too, like where, we've done like a mortgage broker be like, hey, I have some things here that, they've done a renewal a while ago. I would say attempt to find a common thread. So, hey, like it's Sam, it's Sam, and obviously the familiar tone. I know that, a couple of years ago, we had you kind of checking out some places in whatever area. It's obviously a great area. We'll put that on your radar. Did you end up finding something? I'm not attached to the outcome. I'm not attached to whether they want to buy with me. I don't even care if they're an orphan client because I want to have an opportunity to show up later on if that agent drops the ball. And that's where, you're thinking the long game because you create a pipeline in a predictable way to have sales opportunities at the bottom of the pipeline where people are ready. They're kind of the top prospects, hot prospects or whatever. And then you have people that you're kind of getting relationship in and you're moving that ball forward for everybody. So everybody's going to have a step or a next task, or maybe you did, a reach out and it was kind of cold, but they let you in a little bit. Okay, maybe we move them forward again. We kind of play that game a little bit. So unless they tell us, don't ever call me again, screw off, whatever, that's a different story. But if there's an opportunity to open up something, then we can figure out what's a task that we could do to bring value. Can we connect them with someone else? And I actually have a whole section called the connector method in the program. And really, it's based on how do I document how to create more social proof in my own database with those people that don't really know me. I have to get them to open up. And as you know, the best ISAs or probably your inside sales agents are the ones that get you to open up very quickly, right? And build trust very quickly and stuff. So I feel like it's always our goal behind why we learn about our client, why we learn about the tags that they are, why we document what they're doing. Not that we're stalking, but we really want to know how to add value and what's going to be relevant. And it's a never-ending journey, really, with the database. But the good thing is it could be never-ending sales from that database.
Got it. Do you time block? How do you make sure that this happens every single week?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a gentleman do time block. Usually when you have the most time in the morning, energy. So you have a morning routine, maybe some deep work, write content. That's something I really like to do. And then whether it's 9 or 9:30, kids go to school and stuff, go at it and do, a good hour and a half block. I believe in like kind of working with your energy levels, or if your energy levels are really good in the morning, then using that to leverage maybe 2 good focus periods of an hour and a half. and then calling it a lead follow-up day. And then after that, maybe you're working on something else that moves the business forward. Maybe you're, following up on a few people or a few potential offers or whatever. So I do time block.
A lot of agents I hear, they actually are okay calling all the people in there that don't know who they are, but calling someone from their church or calling someone from their kid's daycare, they're like, no way. They already have a realtor. I'm not going to bother them. What do you recommend to get over that? Because that is going to be your best conversions, calling people who already know, like, and trust you versus calling people that don't know. And those are the people you're friends with on Facebook. But trying to get someone to do that, their ego gets in the way. So what do you do just to overcome that?
Yeah, letting go of the ego is a big one for sure. I think there's definitely one of the things of what I like to do is in the program, I like to kind of shift that mindset and that belief of we're not, because if we believe that we are calling for a sale or we're being icky, we're doing something to someone, what we're actually doing is we're creating resistance on ourselves, and it feels like that to the client. And they're like, you know what? I don't really want to talk to you. Like, I'm good. Right? And then that becomes really weird versus really having an authentic conversation of someone who happens to do real estate, but is also not calling to chat all day because we don't want to waste time. People are busy, 8-second attention span, thanking them for taking the call, mentioning something in the personal life, how you been. And I've been called by, like, there was a guy in our database. He does like construction and architecture. And he goes, I took your advice and I started doing this. And when he called me, it felt very warm to me. It didn't feel like, I was like, oh yeah, things are good. And I was like, wait a minute, he's actually doing that, right? So if you do it well, it could feel warmer. It could feel like you're concerned and you care. And, I think too, that with AI, and there's a lot of generic messages in AI, I think it's more important now to reach out and to have that extra care, right? Because they're so easy to just hide behind a screen and not do it. Now, again, I do have an automation section, and not that I don't believe it, but I believe that things that are not as human tasks, like in a listing management or whatever, those could be automated to a group of tasks, right? So I would say you're just having conversation. You're not always going to be aligned with those people, like everybody, but as long as you're doing the right things, you're moving people forward. You can send messages too if they don't respond, and you have a plan, right? You have a plan and how you're going to reach out or bring value or notice something in their social media that you could bring up, that because everybody has life events, everybody has people that have life events, and people who feel that you need more leads, I feel, don't understand that the people they know have 600, 700, 900 people each that they know. So it's almost unlimited because, you and I aren't going to do 3,000 deals together. So, but they know there's thousands of people that we could potentially have deals from. So why are we looking for more leads, right? When like you said, we have an opportunity to warm people up that we already know. So to answer your question, I think it's a combination. I think it's a mind shift. I think it's programming. I think that if you get into it and you get into a rhythm, we all have those days too. But if you have the right system, you get into a rhythm, it allows you to be more confident because you have a structure.
Got it. So do you try to reach out to like X amount of people a day? Is there a goal there?
I would say that I look at the day, when we anchor it to someone's calendar. So we'll say, okay, based on their motivation, based on the where they are on the sales journey and the pipeline and their motivation level, and defining that, we tie it to the calendar. And then when we tie it to the calendar, we have themes of how often in that calendar that shows up. So if it's someone who's really the top of the pipeline or really hot, we're probably going to follow up twice a week at least, right? Or someone we're taking out on viewings, for instance, right? And then the follow-ups would come after that. So like you do a block, you have really good intention for the top priorities for that day, for instance, right? And then you're going to do your follow-ups, just things you have, loose ends you have to get, take care of. So there is a rhythm. I think it allows you to not get redundancy because I remember helping an agent a couple of years ago. He was contemplating a team and he was able to get some success by doing this because he said, I didn't call the same people over and over again. And it wasn't like just redundancy, boring, lost motivation, lost drive to do it. So your question was about rhythm, right? Or cadence?
Yeah, if you have like, okay, you should be making 20 calls a day or having 20
yeah. Okay, yeah. So actually, I'm glad you brought that up because when I teach negotiation at some of the market centers, One person, I said, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be a game of no's. You're not chasing 100 contacts. I came from KW, I love KW and everything, but they are all about, 100 contacts, 100 contacts a week. Like, it's just absolutely ingrained in you. And so what I had to do is I had to, through other coaches, mentors, and other things, I had to figure out how I can disassociate the time spent with the output. So I can get more output for the right quality contacts.
Do you ask for the business? Like when you're calling these people, or maybe even calling referral agents, do you say like, hey, I want to be the first person you think of if anyone needs any help? How do you do that?
You mean specifically for referral agents and Sphere? Like different?
More so Sphere. As you're calling them, just saying, hey, how are you feeling about the market right now? Do you ask for the business, or do you just hope the phone call is enough to plant you in their brain?
I'd say it's a combination of both. It's definitely, understanding kind of the outreach and where you want to go with it, and if there's any door to open with conversation. Some people are more open than others. So some might be more trust need to be built, but some it could be, hey, like I wanted to see how you guys are doing. Like, I know you bought your place a couple years back. Having those conversations about renewals in our market, but it could be anything. Just thinking as well, those conversations. I think it would be really about getting curiosity. So chasing that curiosity, like what's happening in your life. Hey, I had a new baby. That's amazing. How are you guys enjoying the space? Like, how's the house? Oh, the house is pretty good. We're kind of feeling a little bit crammed and stuff. Oh, like crammed? Like, what do you mean? What put that on the radar? Well, it's like, I don't know. Okay, well, if you guys were ever to think about like, what does that look like for you? Like, what in a perfect world, what does that look like for you guys to have more space? We would like it because of this, or what has to happen for you guys to have that. But it's more questions. It's more curiosity. It's more understanding their life situation and being able to use that as fuel. Because if we don't, if you go to Target, I don't know if you have Target in the States, but if you go to Target and you're buying baby wipes, they're going to know that you're going to, probably you had a baby, or maybe strollers are of interest, right? So we want to know, how we can predict and use the database in combination with the conversation that it spits out and AI and things to predict how we can best reach that client to be relevant to them. And it could be also that we have, hey, I have a place for sale in your area. Like, how are you guys liking the area? Like, are you guys finding people moving to your area? Like, I know there's a lot of people moving multi-generational. What are you guys finding right now? Right? I mean, I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound threatening at all. Like, I'm just literally just having a conversation. And if it feels threatening, it's in my mind. And we all have those days, and that's why it's important to trust the system, follow it, know how important it is, and also get out of our own way too, right? When it comes to that. So trust that answers your question.
So if you're an agent in a rut right now, new agent, or you just want more business, what is something that they should be doing today to make sure that no matter what market they're in, through their database, they are creating more opportunities?
I would say they want to be able to establish rules for people who are doing something and people who are not. So people who are, why are they 12 months out? What's important to them? Are they even have anything at all? Getting in touch with everybody to let them know, just as a touch, to see how their house is doing. How's everything with the house, right? I remember hearing I don't know if it was a script or whatever, but it's a fantastic one. It was like, hey, I was in the area showing buyers. How's the house been? And what does that say? It says that you're an agent. It says that you're active. It says that you might have buyers, but it's not saying I have buyers and you got to sell your house. It just says that I have buyers. And like, how's the house treating you? Oh, it's all right. Whatever. These are golden things because any opening up is going to be golden for you, right? As an agent. So just knowing that there's opportunity in that while you service new leads, while you, work the system in that way, and having a listing. If you don't have any listings, go get a listing from another agent, market them, and make sure that you didn't lose any follow-ups from that. Maybe you had old leads there you need to reconnect with. Look at those leads as people that you could create into forever clients with the right system, rather than, they're done. They're just names and numbers. And that's where lead programs fail, because they don't teach that part. That's very important, because names and numbers are great. You could have a a $3 million buyer, but if you don't know what to do with it to create that opportunity, nothing's going to happen. And I actually had a client that bought, and I won't name names, but she's like a political figure. And I didn't know this, but by following the right system, it was a realtor.ca lead. Now, she wants me to, she loves, it's great, and they bought together and she wants to refer me. So I don't think that would have happened without just getting into the right relationships, and just trusting the process, and not being attached to the outcome, not knowing that some people aren't ready yet. That's okay. The whole point is to move things forward every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sam, how do people find you? What's the best way if people want to connect with you?
They can find me on Facebook. I'll send you a link. If not, I sent it earlier. But Facebook's where you can find I have a group called Database Mastery in there. So you can find me on Sam Abdallah. I'll just send you the Facebook. I have my content on there. I love posting and just sharing stories about how I've helped some agents close more deals with the database conversion systems. And then I also shared a link to a tracker. So if someone wants any resources, they want to know their predictability for how much appointments and contracts they need for their GCI goals, and some other things like filling up their pipeline, some resources. I put that in there. They just answer a couple questions, and then they'll get the resource list as well. So,
okay, awesome. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think this is great. I mean, you asked me about some things favorite books and other things too in there. I would say Essentialist is one of my favorite books right now. I've been reading it. I think that I'm a big fan of studying books. I think less but better has been a theme of mine for the last year and a half, is finding one or two things that are going to move the needle forward rather than a whole bunch of energy spent on all these little things. And I would say if someone wants to really take it seriously, this is a great time. If you're new, if you're not new, you're a rising star, commit to mastery rather than just dabble, right? Don't just take a couple strategies and just go all in and trust yourself. But that would be one of the biggest things. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sam. And thank you, Real Estate Rockstars, for listening to this awesome podcast.
Thanks so much. Appreciate your time. It's been awesome meeting you.